Number 14, more water needs to be preserved to protect the environment, even if this means less water is available for farming. So I think, Aditya, you had some stats on this before we started this. So do you mind bringing that up again?
Yes, it is said that 60% of the current water that's available for humans is given to irrigation. And do you want to give more for farming is a question, because it's a desert land. Most of the land is desert. And as the global warming is also happening, and the water levels would go down as well. There should be a balance between having the farming and also keep preserving the water for human consumption. So if 60% is already given for farming, I think it is good enough for now.
Yeah. So, Babu Gogineni, this one.
I attended a lecture once by a very famous ecologist, and he said, when you export wheat, when you export rice, do you think you're only exporting a kilo of rice? You're actually exporting so many tens of liters of water along with it. Because to grow rice, paddy fields require soaking the plant in water, knee-deep water for many, many days. Now, the point he's making is when you produce, especially rice, you've given so much input. And when you buy the rice, you manage to buy the rice without having to pay the cost of the water used, or importing so much water, or using so much water in your own country. So if this farming is for water-intense purposes, the products of which are then exported, then it doesn't make sense. But if you are farming for human consumption within Australia, then it's meeting a need. I would say it should be a graded approach and depends on what that water is being used for. If it's not for export purposes, even in a free global economy, then I'd say use it for farming, because it ultimately comes to the humans too. Nobody is saying there's no drinking water. They're saying don't use this water to water your lawn. They're saying don't use this water to spend too much time dishwashing. Use a dishwasher, use a washing machine. So there are frugal ways of living that should be implemented. Farming gives food and employment.
Awesome. Sarath, did you want to talk about this?
Yes, I think I'll like to add like a couple of points. So I think from a policy standpoint, this should not be a matter. This should not be a decision of whether to restrict a resource or allow more resource to it. I think from a policy standpoint, they should just keep doing whatever is going on. It's not like farmers get a rationing of water or something like that. If there are any if there is any water, fresh water supply that's going to be planned, that's being planned for farming purposes, they should keep doing it for now, because if they stop doing it, a lot of other plans would change and farmers get affected in this whole thing. But I think what the focus of a state should be to invest in these technologies where you can come up with variants of crops that would need fewer water resources, and they would need less water, any kind of resource intensity, let it be land. I mean, because it's wide. I mean, because Australia is largely uninhabited, I think there is no issue of land that's coming now. But in India, that is really an issue. You have land is scarce there. So even when you look at land, when you look at water as a resources, as inputs to farming, and even pesticide, for example. So states can invest in these technologies that are trying to come up with crop variants that consume way fewer resources than what they are. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be possible or not, but I believe that in like 50, may not be in 50 years, maybe in like 80, 100 years probably, plants will be grown in in greenhouses, nurseries, kind of labs. They won't be grown in fields anymore. We won't have that anymore. I think it'll take like probably 100 years. I mean, that's too far. I mean, I'm just saying, when I say 100 years, I think in the far future at least. But maybe it can happen in 50, 60 years. But the problem is, I think a lot of people are dependent on farming, especially. I mean, it won't be. I mean, you can't. This kind of thing will not catch up globally in any coming few decades, because there are like generations that are going to transition from farming to something else, and economies have to change.
Right.
But I think countries like Australia, they can invest in these kind of technologies, which is going to reap a lot of crops or returns in future. They can show. They should be. I think they should be showing the way. They should be part of the solution in showing the way for sustainable agriculture in future. I think that's where the policy should come in.
Yeah, I agree. I think this would be a band-aid solution, not dissimilar to riding a bike around Australia to save water or save our rivers, which none of us will do, I'm sure. But I think we all are on the agree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree. So are we comfortable with strongly disagree?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
I don't know, sir, if you got the point. Arjun said that. He said that we don't need to ride a bike in Australia to save water.
I did. But that fellow is riding it in Europe at the moment, I think.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
And soil everywhere is richer for it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yes, number 15, Australia should end the monarchy and become a republic.